Okay, you are the writer and the director. Can you tell me, there's a bit of a strange premise. Tell me how you came up with it.
Basically, I just came up with it through my own strange brain of, these were a bunch of different interests of mine, high school movies, communism, and they all came up into a stew, and then this is the movie that kind of emerged. I was really into Leon Trotsky when I was a teenager. I found him super interesting, and his life is so romantic and full of travel and adventure that he really kind of captured my imagination when I was a teenager. And so, that was kind of how this started.
And why a comedy?
Because I wrote it as a drama first, and it was terrible. Just terrible, because it was a very similar movie, but if you can imagine it being not funny, it was kind of like Punished. You know, listening to people bark at you about what you should believe in and what you should do, but not just Leon, everybody. Okay. So it was just dreadful, and then I realized that laughter, satire, is a great way of, getting this stuff, of making the points you want to make and not making it brutal on an audience to sit through.
Not hitting it over the head too much.
Exactly.
And now Jay, I mean, he's a bit of a rebel in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't necessarily see him like that in other comedies that he's done.
That's true.
So tell me about casting him.
It was one of the most easy decisions I made. It was for me to make the decision was very easy. I was like, once it occurred to me, I was like, I need to get Jay to do this under any circumstances. It's now my full-time job to just talk him into making this movie. Because as soon as he came into my head, I was like, I can't imagine anybody else doing this. And thankfully, he was pretty game pretty quick.
So tell me a little bit about this interesting premise of a movie and how you got to be introduced to the Trotsky.
I am really old friends with Jacob, the director, and I was introduced to the Trotsky, his script, like 10 years ago, because he'd written it when he was still of age to play Leon,
right?
Which was originally the idea, and I was going to be Carolyn at that time.
Okay.
That time being when we could still play high school.
Right.
And then this crazy thing happened where we got older, and so Jacob in Jay saw his Leon, and I became the older woman.
Okay, now, Jay has been in a lot of big American comedies.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen any of those comedies?
Yeah.
And how do they differ from this Canadian comedy? Because we don't always have so many comedies in Canada.
Money. I mean, we didn't have a budget that can even compare. However, I think what Jacob's done is make that comparison a different one now. Because usually it's like, oh, Canadian movie kind of thing. There is that stigma about it, and I think this one will change that.
Well, I like some of the Canadian comedy references. The E-Talk thing I thought was hilarious.
Well, because it's Canadian and not apologizing about it, and shows it in a way that you can kind of be proud of. When I saw the movie, I actually felt like I was proud to be Canadian because of the way it's represented in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's cool, and it shows it for what it actually is.